This is the Harry Loomis Show. Welcome back to the Harry Loomis Show. Today is Wednesday, January 29th, and I'm finally getting back into NASCAR on the Harry Loomis Show. It's been a while since I've talked about NASCAR, pretty much since the season ended. I haven't really talked about it much. I kind of took a break. I did do the video where I listed the greatest driver to run every winning car number in Cup Series history. That wasn't really with the Harry Loomis Show. That was a big undertaking. Took a lot of my free time, which I didn't have a lot of back then. But I am back, and if you've been following me for a while, I do 10 predictions for the upcoming season every year on my website. I uploaded those today. That article will be linked in the description of this video. I'm also going to hyperlink this video into the article. But I'm going to go through them today. I'm going to kind of explain my thought process for each of these predictions, and I'll let you know, do you guys like these predictions? Do you not like these predictions? What do you guys think is going to happen? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to get a dialogue started about these. But let's just get right into it. My first prediction of the year is one I kind of make every year. Sheldon Creed is going to win a race, but so is Daniel Hemrick. I combine them together because they are both two of the most snake-bitten drivers I've ever seen in my time watching NASCAR. Daniel Hemrick, we knew all about him. He couldn't buy a win in the Truck Series, couldn't buy a win in the Xfinity Series. When he finally did, it was the championship. Went to Colleague in 22 and 23. Had a lot of good runs. Couldn't buy a win. Sheldon Creed was a stud in the Truck Series. A champion. Won, I think, 8 races. Gets to Xfinity. 3 years with good teams. Cannot for the life of him buy a win. Fully believe that these two in their new environments, Creed with a new team that kind of rebranded itself a bit. Him and Sam Mayer. I think they are going to be potent this year in the Ford camp. And Daniel Hemrick, I think, made one of the best moves of the offseason, going from the Colleague Cup car down to Bill McAnally Racing to drive the 19 car that Christian Eckes had great success in. I think him being a veteran of that series, I think he's still one of the best drivers in that series. I think he is for sure going to win a race. Could even win a couple more. We'll get to him later. But I think both of them are going to be winners at some point this season. My second prediction is kind of an interesting one. I said that the new playoff waiver rule would get tested. If you missed the rule change in the offseason, NASCAR changed the waiver policy where they're still going to allow waivers. They're still going to give them. But if you are required to have a waiver, you will forfeit any and all postseason points that you would accrue throughout the regular season, which is a big if. This is obviously a response to Kyle Larson missing the Coke 600 to run in the Indy 500 because the 500 got delayed. Pretty obvious reaction to that. Now, this bit by J-Ski is important. Exceptions to the forfeit of playoff points include medical reasons, as in driver medical, the birth of a child, family emergency, etc., and age restrictions. Age restrictions one is interesting to me, but I think the biggest question is the medical exemption. What does that mean? What does that look like? Does that mean like Denny Hamlin, for example, missed a race in 2014 because of he had a piece of metal stuck in his eye. Kyle Larson actually fainted in 2015, missed a race at Martinsville. For a simple race, would it be an exemption? Would it be a situation like Chase Elliott in 2023, where he broke his leg and missed a handful of races? I'm not really sure what that's going to look like. I wouldn't be surprised, though, if a driver does have to miss a race this season. It seems to happen just about every year. We saw Eric Jones have to miss a race this year, or a couple races this year. Kyle Larson obviously missed the race. 23 had a couple injuries as well. I think that this rule, it will be tested, and NASCAR will have to make a decision based on it. So I think that's going to be one of the more interesting storylines to potentially see this year. My third prediction, I think that we're going to have 2 drivers from the Truck Series end up running in the Cup Series in 2026. Those guys being Corey Heim and Chandler Smith. I think these two are among the 4, maybe even 3 best prospects in all of NASCAR, and the fact that both of them are going to be running their 3rd years in the Truck Series is crazy to me. We never would have seen this in any other timeline. Look at the past decade or so, maybe 2 years tops in the Truck Series full-time, year or 2 in Xfinity, and typically guys are going to the Cup Series. I mean, look at William Byron. Tyler Reddick ran 2 years. Kyle Larson didn't even run a full year in the Truck Series. Ty Gibbs never made a Truck Series start. Just some guys like that, for example. But it hasn't worked the same way for Corey Heim or Chandler Smith, who have both made Cup starts. Chandler Smith was a full-time Xfinity driver the last 2 years. But I like where they're at right now. Corey Heim has obviously established himself as Toyota's top prospect. Obviously, there's some beef there. Something with Joe Gibbs Racing, where he's not getting those opportunities. That's why the Xfinity Series rides taken by William Sawalich and Taylor Gray, and Brandon Jones is coming back, and that's why he's not going there. So he's going to be a Tricon again, but I think he's the lead guy if a spot at Legacy or 2311 opens up. And Chandler Smith, I think, made a good move in the offseason as well, going to the Truck Series with Front Row Motorsports because they just expanded to a three-car Cup Series team, and they should progress to get better. And interestingly enough, I don't know if any of those three drivers are safe. I like Todd Gilliland, Noah Gragson, and Zane Smith all quite a bit, but none of them are exactly proven in the Cup Series to the point of them being 100% safe. If Michael McDowell were still on that team, he would be a different story, but all these guys are relatively unproven. So if Chandler Smith just blows the door off and someone struggles in the Cup Series, the rumors are going to start pretty quickly about Chandler potentially replacing them at Front Row Motorsports in 2026. So I think both of these guys, if they run like I expect them to, they will be just about forcing their way into Cup rides come 2026. My fourth prediction is always my Crown Jewel winners. Obviously, there are 4 Crown Jewels, so that's always my prediction number 4 for the year. And my Daytona 500 pick is Kyle Busch. I'm not the only one that's made this pick. This isn't even the only time I've made this pick, but like I say in the article, NASCAR loves their storylines. Kyle Busch coming off a winless season, 20th attempt at the Daytona 500, driving for Richard Childress. Who does that sound like? That was Dale Earnhardt's situation when he finally won it in 98. Didn't win in 97. 20th attempt, won it. I want to see Kyle Busch win a Daytona 500 badly. I'm actually going to the Daytona 500, by the way. So seeing that in person would be unbelievable. I like when all-time great drivers win historic races. The underdogs are cool to see, don't get me wrong. It's cool occasionally to see Michael McDowell. It's cool occasionally to see Austin Cindric. It's cool occasionally to see Ricky Stenhouse Jr., but the big races are where legacies are made, and this is the only thing that Kyle Busch has not gotten. He's an all-time great to me. I want to see him get it, and I want to see him get it this year. I think it'd be really cool to see. My Coca-Cola 600 pick, I went a little bit bold. I picked Chase Briscoe. Now, Briscoe has not had great runs on mile-and-a-half tracks, aside from Texas, in his Cup Series career. He had a handful of mile-and-a-half wins in the Xfinity Series in 2020 when he had a great season, 9 wins in total. But he has shown up to be a big race performer. He had a 3rd place finish at the Daytona 500 in 2022. He won the Southern 500 last year. He was in a great battle for the Coke 600 in 2022. Kyle Larson ended up spinning with 2 laps to go. But he is now on Joe Gibbs Racing. They've won 2 of the last 3 Coke 600s, 4 of the last 7. Kyle Busch and Martin Truex Jr. in 2019. He's replacing Truex in that 19 car. That car is always fast on these type of tracks. And I think Chase Briscoe is going to get himself a Coke 600 win. The Brickyard 400, I chose Ryan Blaney. He just about won this race last year. If it weren't for Brad Keselowski running out of fuel at the worst possible time and a very interesting ruling on the restart and just all the shenanigans at the end of that race. That was a frustrating finish because it was a pretty good race before that. But we always talk about when we have Cup cars at Indianapolis, can Penske pull off the sweep? I don't know what they're going to do at the Indy 500, but I think Ryan Blaney will do his part, and he is going to win Brickyard 400, get his 2nd crown jewel, as well as Chase Briscoe. And another guy who has 1 crown jewel and will get another one, Christopher Bell, is going to win the Southern 500, in my opinion. Darlington, like I say in this article, that's a driver's track. The best drivers show up at that race, and very few drivers are as talented, have as much car control as Christopher Bell. He's had some good runs at Darlington in the past, finished 3rd in the Southern 500 last year, won the Xfinity race last year. This seems like a Christopher Bell type of race. I expect him to be strong all season long, and he will be starting his championship push with a win in the first race of the playoffs. Number 5, I went a little bit bold here, and I don't like being negative in these, but I think sometimes you just have to face reality. I think this is going to be the start of Denny Hamlin's decline. I think he will still win a race, maybe even 2, but I think his days of being a championship contender are coming to an end. The vibes just do not seem good there. There's a lot going against them. They had the late season penalty last year that completely derailed any momentum they had. The playoff run wasn't very good. He's in a lawsuit with 2311 against NASCAR. He lost FedEx as well. We don't even know what his sponsor is going to be for the Daytona 500 at the time of recording this. And I think the biggest thing of all that I don't think we've talked enough about this. Chris Gabehart is now Ty Gibbs' crew chief. Denny Hamlin is now going to have to work with Chris Gale, who is objectively, no disrespect, he is a downgrade as a Cup Series crew chief to Chris Gabehart. Him and Gabehart were one of the best combos in the series, and Chris Gale has had a couple different drivers, hasn't had the same success as some other Joe Gibbs crew chiefs like Chris Gabehart, like an Adam Stevens. I think that's going to be a big factor this year for Denny Hamlin. Like I said, I think he will be a winner, but I do not expect him to be a championship contender this year, if I'm being honest. My sixth prediction, I think that Austin Cindric's going to have a good season. I think he will build on his momentum that he had in 2024. In ways, 2024 was the best season of his career so far. Average finish wasn't as good as 2022, but a career high in laps led. And I think his win at Gateway was probably the most impressive win of his career, more impressive than the Daytona 500 2022, in my opinion. Even though Ryan Blaney ran out of fuel coming to the white flag, Austin Cindric ran easily the best race of his career in that run. And he had a really good playoff run. He led a handful of laps. He really showed himself to be one of the best drivers on drafting tracks. I think he will get a win at one of those drafting tracks and be a playoff driver this year. I think Austin Cindric is going to have back-to-back playoff appearances, 3 playoff appearances in the first 4 years of his career. I'm high on Austin Cindric. He got better and better every year in the Xfinity Series, and I think he's starting to figure it out in Cup. I am buying stock on the 2-team come 2025. Prediction number 7, another one. I don't like being negative, but again, I think I'm just being honest and saying how I feel about this. I think Colleague Racing will sell at least one charter this year. I don't know who it's going to. I'm not sure who all is going to be in the market, but I don't think it makes sense long-term for Colleague Racing to run 2 charters in the Cup Series because I don't have high expectations for their Cup program whatsoever this year. AJ Allmendinger is back. He could contend for road course wins. We always know that with AJ, but his performance, I don't expect it to be even as high as it was in 2023 when he missed the playoffs. He's coming off not a great Xfinity Series season. He made the championship 4, but only 1 win. It was generally a non-factor compared to how he was in 21 and 22. And the big one is Ty Dillon coming back. They brought Ty Dillon in. It's going to be, I think, his 4th Cup Series team in the last 5 years. Last year, he's coming off running for Rackley in the Truck Series and struggling, not running well at all, not being anywhere near the playoff line. And he's back with a full-time ride. If you have expectations for him, good for you. I have 0 right now. I'm not high on Colleague Racing whatsoever. I like their Xfinity Series. I like what they're doing there. I like Christian Eckes a lot. I like Daniel Dye. I'm not big on Josh Williams, but I think those 2 rookie contenders could be pretty solid for them. And if I were Colleague Racing, I would sell at least one of those charters and investing as much as I can in the Xfinity Series and just becoming pretty much a feeder team for Chevrolet. Develop alliances with whoever you can. You got one with Trackhouse. Maybe you got one with Richard Childress Racing. Maybe even work with, teams like Hendrick. Who knows? I just don't think the Cup Series is where Colleague shines right now, and I don't think that's where they need to be at this moment in time. Moving on to prediction number 8, I think Riley Herbst is going to be a top 25 driver in the Cup Series. And when you hear that a 2311 driver is going to be a top 25 driver, that doesn't sound very impressive. But a lot of people, from what I'm hearing, are not high on Riley Herbst at all. I think I'm one of the bigger Riley Herbst defenders that I see. He had a good year in Xfinity Series last year, led a handful of laps, had 2 really impressive wins. The Indy finish was awesome. The Phoenix race was easily the best race of his career, the most dominant. And it was impressive for him to come back the way he did. Yes, Justin Allgaier didn't put up the biggest fight because the championship was a bigger deal to him than winning that race. But Riley Herbst did a good job, and he's shown to be a solid Cup driver. He has had some really good runs in the Cup Series, specifically at drafting tracks. He's kept his nose clean. Drivers obviously feel comfortable around him. I kind of like what I'm seeing out of Riley Herbst. I think if he's going to go to the Cup Series and see what he can do, this is the time to do it. I think his stock and his momentum are pretty high right now. He's a pretty good driver. I think we got to start giving Riley Herbst some more flowers than we do. So I'm excited to see what Herbst can do this year. Do I expect him to win the Rookie of the Year? If I were a betting man, I would pick Shane Van Gisbergen. I don't expect rookies to win. I don't pick rookies to win. I did that with Ty Gibbs. That was a mistake. But I could see, Shane Van Gisbergen, we got a bunch of road courses this year. You can never count him out for sure. So I think he is more likely to win than Riley Herbst is. I don't expect Riley Herbst will not win a race. I'm telling you that now. He won't be a playoff driver. But based on expectations, I think Riley Herbst could exceed his expectations more then Shane Van Gisbergen could exceed his expectations more, if that makes sense to you. Moving on to prediction number 9. This one's a little bit bold. I am really high on this Xfinity Series rookie class, and I'm going to throw out a number. I think 5 of the Xfinity Series rookies will win a race in 2024, and that does include Connor Zilisch. Zilisch is probably the best one out of all these. He is the best one out of all these. He already has an Xfinity Series win. He'll easily get at least one. But between some of these other guys, Carson Kvapil, Christian Eckes, Nick Sanchez, William Sawalich, Taylor Gray, I think at least 4 more of those guys are going to win a race in 2025. I think the Xfinity Series field has the potential to be absolutely loaded this year. That series is going to be a lot of fun to watch, and it's on the CW. Kind of got its own spotlight this year. I think it's a great time to be a fan of the Xfinity Series. So that's going to be my pick. 5 Xfinity Series rookies. Count them. 5 will win a race in 2025. And something I started doing last year, I throw a couple of mini predictions out there as well, which is why we now have 10 plus predictions instead of just 10 predictions. So we're going to go through a couple of them again. Will Austin Hill win the Xfinity Series opener again? I'm going to go yes. I mean, there's no reason to bet against it. He's been in the Xfinity Series for 3 years as one Daytona each of those 3 years. He's the Tony Stewart of the series right now. Until someone knocks him off, I'm going to pick him to win that race every single year. That's lazy, but sometimes you just got to go with the obvious answer. Where will Ty Gibbs break through? I said Dover, and that might be an interesting pick, kind of a bold pick. But if you look at some other third-year Cup drivers, guys like Tyler Reddick, for example, Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, William Byron, they all got their first win in their third full-time season at or around or a little bit after the midway point of the season. So midway right now would be Atlanta. So some races like Chicago, Sonoma, Dover, Indy, Iowa, Watkins Glen, that area of races in the schedule. Dover seems like a Ty Gibbs kind of track. He can win pretty much at any point this season. I made a pick for him last year. I said he was going to win at Pocono. He ended up going winless. Actually blew his engine at Pocono. So that didn't go well. But I do fully expect Ty Gibbs to get a win this year. How many flips in the Cup Series? I said 3. Last year, I believe there were 4, if I'm not mistaken. Corey LaJoie twice, Josh Berry, and Tyler Reddick at Las Vegas. That, as far as I know, I'm not forgetting any, but if I am, someone please let me know. Only Cup Series as well. How many new playoff drivers will there be? I said 3. Last year, I think I said 4, and I think that was right. Usually we're in for about 3 to 5 per year. There's about 12, 13 spots where you know these guys are going to be in unless something catastrophic happens. And then there's a handful that are kind of up for grabs every year. So I said there's going to be 3 this year. New tracks for 2025 in the Cup Series. I'm going to speak it into existence. Give me Rockingham. Give me North Wilkesboro. I want to see them in the Cup Series. The All-Star race is great. Let's make them point races. We took a race away from Richmond to get Mexico City. Probably take a race away from Bristol to get North Wilkesboro. Rockingham, I don't know how that would work. I just want to see it happen. I don't want to have to come up with the logistics. I just want to see Rockingham come back to the Cup Series. The tests are going on right now for the Xfinity Truck Series. It looks awesome. I want to see it. Championship 4 will be Corey Heim, Chandler Smith, Daniel Hemrick, and Ty Majeski. And the champion will be Corey Heim. I had Chandler Smith written in there for a minute because I think it's going to be between those two. I think Smith is going to be the new Christian Eckes, where it's just those two kind of lighting up the series, and then everyone else kind of comes and follows, which made me want to pick Ty Majeski because it was the same way last year, and Ty Majeski swooped in, dominated Phoenix, and became the champion. But as I say in here, if Corey Heim ends his Truck Series career without a championship, that's going to be just an injustice. He is one of the best Truck Series regulars in a long time. It's about time he gets a championship. Xfinity Series, most wins. I have a tie between Austin Hill and Sam Mayer. I think they will both win 5 races. No one won more than 4 last year of all the regulars. That was Austin Hill. It was kind of split up with a lot of winners last year. I don't think it'll be quite that much this year. There will be a lot of winners, but I think some guys will pop off a little bit more. Championship 4, those two, Austin Hill, Sam Mayer, Justin Allgaier, and Connor Zilisch. And I'm going to be bold. I pick Connor Zilisch to win the Xfinity Series championship. Ty Gibbs won the championship in 2022. It was his first full-time season. He wasn't technically a rookie. The last rookie to win the championship was Tyler Reddick. William Byron did the year before that. I think Connor Zilisch is just as good as them, if not better. He's on arguably the best team in the Xfinity Series. There's a lot going Zilich's way. I think it's going to be a big year for him. I'm going to pick him to win the championship. I'll be a little bit bold. Now for the Cup Series. Most wins, I have Kyle Larson again. Went a little bit bold. I think he gets 7 this year. He got 6 last year to lead the series. I think he tacked on another one this year. The championship 4, I have Christopher Bell, Tyler Reddick, Ryan Blaney, and Kyle Larson. And for the second time, I'm going to pick Christopher Bell to win the championship. I think he is on a mission this year. He looks like he's having a lot of fun this year at the Chili Bowl. I think that kind of rejuvenates him a little bit this year. He's got, like I said, he's got a chip on his shoulder. And I still think there's some people that think Denny Hamlin's the top dog at Joe Gibbs Racing. Nuh-uh. Bell's going to prove differently this year. He will show that he's the best driver at Joe Gibbs Racing and arguably the best in the Cup Series with a championship in 2025. Those are my picks. Let me know what your guys' are. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm going to come back pretty soon. I'm going to do the predicting all 36 races again this year. Did that last year. Had a lot of fun. So we'll get to that soon. But until then, I thank you guys for watching, and we'll talk to you again soon. This is The Harry Loomis Show.